My name is Ryan from Askreddit Tells, and today we're going to be looking at even more r/entitled_parents. But before we do that, make sure you're subscribed and also hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all the latest videos. Be roommates with my son and give him your games and food. Update Part 2. The sequel you've been waiting for. Hey people of Reddit, my cousins gave me a second update about a couple of days ago about entitled mom and a kid that have been harassing him this semester. Now they told me that this happened 3 to 8 days ago after the New York trip, so this was before quarantine. So my cousins told me that they do a first-year student election during January to February. Entitled kid threw them a tantrum when he lost the election for class president, and his entitled mom howled at my cousin. If you haven't read the first two stories, I suggest you click the link below so you can understand the setting. This time on Dragon Ball Z. Meet everybody. OC, older cousin. LC, little cousin. RM, roommate. EM, entitled mom. EK, entitled kid. EKRM, entitled kid's roommate. Vice, student body vice president. NK, nice kid. EKND, entitled kid's nice dad. And who could forget the lovable D for Dean. So the setting. My cousin and his roommate were having a council meeting discussing the first year elections. Now, I was told that the meetings are for student council members and prospects only. Because Nice Kid was going to be a candidate for the president, he was allowed, and his dad is a janitor, so he works a campus job so he doesn't live on campus. The door opens. Cue entitled kid. Hi everyone! My cousin didn't want to deal with his BS and told him to leave. He asked why he couldn't stay, and he stated that the meeting was for student officers and prospects only. Then entitled kid asks, "What's a prospect?" A prospect is someone who plans to run for office. They're included in the meetings because they're an associate member. Then entitled kid asks why Nice Kid was allowed in. Then older cousin stated, "Nice Kid's a prospect. That's why." Entitled kid then said, "I'm gonna be a prospect." Now my cousin knew that if you're on disciplinary probation, which he was, it's impossible for someone to get an appeal. The last time an appeal was successful was 1996, and the last time someone tried was 2009. With that in mind, older cousin laughed with his head and wished him luck, knowing that it would never get approved. Then his mom called the student council office to try and get information about an appeal. Now my cousin said that the peer council is in charge of appeals. It's comprised of 12 student officers, 3 10th years, 3 11th years, and 3 12th years. The student body vice president's vote counts twice. Now his mom was there in the parking lot during the day of the vote. The vote was 6 out of 5, so entitled kid's appeal was approved. Older cousin had this why look on his face, and he saw entitled mom in the parking lot, and her boy came and hugged her. She then said, "I told you that mommy would take care of it." She then saw older cousin walk up to him and said, "My son got his appeal approved. You have to share that room and be his friend." Yeah! Older cousin sat there blank for a moment as he realized that he now has to spend time with entitled kid because he's a prospect. Then entitled mom says, "Excuse me, didn't you hear what I said? You're going to spend time with my son now." Older cousin then leads forward and told them to the mom in an eerie way, "Let it begin." But in truth, older cousin was scared shitless. He realized that if Nice Kid lost, he'd be stuck in the entitled kid for the rest of the year. The election was on February 25th, so he had 4 days to get a game plan. He asked Nice Kid and the rest of the gang to meet at the room to figure out what to do. It went like this. "Okay guys, we need to figure something out. If entitled kid wins, we're going to be stuck with him for the rest of the year." "I have a feeling I can win." "That's not the point. Yeah, I can imagine that his mom's going to bribe other students to try and get them to vote for her son. We don't have a lot of money, that's the point. So we have very limited cash resources to make you look good." "Oh, I see." Then entitled kid's roommate called his dad and told him what was going on. He stated that his roommate could be class president if he doesn't help them. Entitled kid roommate's dad agreed to help. So getting the Nice Kid's exposure was the only thing that was left. The gang worked tirelessly to promote Nice Kid's campaign, even through a town hall with free pizza. Older cousin said that the entitled kid was really not campaigning. Older cousin was thinking that maybe he just thought he was going to win so he didn't have to put in any effort. The eve of the election, older cousin had a meeting with the prospects in his room and told them that their parents would have been called and that they will be at the announcement when the results are in. Older cousin then proceeded to talk to nice kid and entitled kid about student government. Nice kid was being cool, but entitled kid was demanding to eat sweets and to play games. It went like this. Come on, let me have a honey bun and turn the PS4 on. That's not what this meeting is about. It's to prepare you for what's going to happen tomorrow. OMG, turn it on now. He said no. F you, mother. I'm going to be your roommate soon. When I become president, you're going to have to share. Eventually, so stop holding out. Everybody just sighs loudly to where it's obvious. Then entitled kid says, what? It was time to end things, so older cousin dismissed. Entitled kid and nice kid. Nice kid left at that time. Entitled kid's roommate was coming to sleep over. EKRM? Hey, can we are still on for tonight, right little cousin? Yeah, I'll put out the couch. Then entitled kid asks, can I sleep over too? No. Why not? Because you don't live here and aren't our guest. Well, I'm gonna stay anyway. Entitled kid then proceeds to sit on the couch. The gang asked him to move nicely, but he doesn't. And the gang isn't having it, especially little cousin. Little cousin stands over him and entitled kid says, what the F do you want? Keep in mind my cousins are black and he's white. We can either do this the easy way or we can do it my way. Shut up, you ain't gonna do nothing. The gang then drags him out and he banged on the door for an hour begging to be let back in. Fast forward to tomorrow. The parents, students, and faculty are all there. Vice was getting ready to read the results. Everybody, thank you for coming. This is a time where we greet the new class officers, our first year students. Everyone please be quiet, we will be starting at this time. Vice then proceeds to say the candidates and how many votes they received. For entitled kid, 85 votes. Because student elections aren't that important to first years, 85 was a lot of votes. Then parents started to chat. Entitled mom and son were looking smug, looking like they had won. Older cousin admitted to having this oh crap look. Then Vice banged his gavel and said, order! For nice kid. 764 votes! Nice kid wins! Little cousin and entitled kid's roommate turned to entitled mom and son and pointed in their face and said, booyah! Nice kid's parents were there and congratulated him, and so did the rest of the gang. Entitled mom and son were pissed, but my cousin said that entitled kid's dad was there and he was really polite. Entitled mom and son pulled their husband away from the crowd and she demands he do something. You pay this school a lot of tuition. Our boy has to be president. Well, over 700 people decided that they didn't want entitled kid to be president. I can't do anything. I'm supposed to be president. Now look what you did. You made him cry. Come on, mommy, will you buy him an ice cream? She then turned to older cousin. You jerk. You plotted against my son, didn't you? Well, I didn't help him. You owe my son. You didn't take him on the trip with you, and you've been bullying him all semester. If you don't want to be his friend, you're gonna get an earful from my husband. Yeah, you effing jerk. Language. The entitled kid then flips the bird to the older cousin and leaves with his mom. Older cousin then had a talk with the dad and found out that he sent him to the school, hoping that it would break his son's entitlement. Older cousin tells the dad what has been going on and this semester. Everything. The dad looks shocked. He begins to apologize profusely for his wife and son's behavior. He stated that he thought he was improving and making friends. Older cousin had to dispel that and said that entitled kid's being a grade A jerk and was being very rude and disruptive to the gang. He gave older cousin his number and said if entitled kid bothers him just to call and put him on speaker. Nice kid ended up choosing entitled kid's roommate as vice president. And the days went on, needlessly to say. Entitled kid became even worse when entitled kid's roommate was in student government. He said, you stole the election from me. You have to pay for this. Entitled kid kept getting worse. Entitled kid's roommate made a desperate play and begged the dean to switch his roommate. The dean said, I'm really sorry, but there's nothing left. I've asked other kids if they'll switch and no one wants to. Can you do something? Well, there is one thing. What is it? Well, theoretically, student officers are allowed to live together. I'm not following you. If you can convince the guys to let you move in with them, I'll allow it. Entitled kid's roommate later asked the guys if he could move in. My cousins and roommate said he is more than welcome to live in the room with them. So they proceeded to go and get his things, and it went down like this. Just put all your things in the bed and we'll get it. Alrighty. Entitled Kid then says, what are you doing? I'm moving in with the guys. What? Yeah. Cool, well then I'm coming too. The gang gives a very sarcastic, sure you can, and proceeded to move Entitled Kid's roommate in. Roommate says in a really smug and sarcastic way, oh wait, you can't move in with us, remember? You lost. Entitled Kid throws a tantrum in the hallway and everyone sees. The gang get to the rest of his roommate's things and finished moving him in. Entitled Kid's roommate has had the best sleep in weeks. Entitled Kid does still wait by my cousin's door and begs for his roommate to move back in and gives a half-assed apology. The gang promptly ignores him and says, this pizza's so good and it's all ours. Wow, look at these graphics. This is such a cool game. Entitled Kid begs to be let in and the gang never does. They've woken him up to sleeping in the front of their door prior to the quarantine on more than one occasion. I know I was long, so thanks for reading. My cousins have said that he hasn't been around much due to the quarantine, due to mandates by the dean, so it's unlikely that I'll have another story to post, but if so, I'll keep you in the loop. Send them to boarding school. That's the only way they'll become men. Second post here. Long one and on phone, so bear with. So let me start by saying the story's about my granddad. I love my granddad and he's no way entitled, except for this one occasion. To start, I'll give you some context on his life. Skip you the story if you want. Granddad was born in the later years of World War II. His father, my great-granddad, served. As a result, he wasn't home when Granddad was born. Granddad didn't properly meet his father until he was about 4, in the middle of the night and while looking down at him from the landing. I don't know how good of a parent my great-granddad was, but all I know is that Granddad moved out as soon as he could to join the army like his father. The lack of parenting did translate slightly to his own children, my aunt and my father. Both were sent to boarding school at a young age. I think it was because my granddad didn't have the best upbringing and therefore didn't know how to raise his own children. My dad doesn't mention his past month, but he does too join the army at the first chance he got. It was because the army he got to know my mom. The British Army was a big part of my family for generations. My dad's a brilliant parent, often taking long jobs and time away from home to provide for us, showing he was a better parent than his father. Then there was me and my little brother. I'm the oldest grandchild my granddad has, with my brother being 2 years younger. My cousin's much younger. I never wanted to be a part of the army. I was never sporty. I played way too many video games and loved cartoons, not what my granddad or even my dad considered being a man. On many occasions, my grandparents would have time to look after me and my bro for long periods of time. They would usually leave us in front of a TV, let us do what we want, and give us food when they got ready to eat. What could do what we wanted and thought it was brilliant. But it's not really parenting, as I've come to understand. Now on to the story. Dad was away for a few weeks. Mom was with us at the grandparents' house. We went to bed on the first night, expecting there to be a few days. My mom told us the next morning that we'd be leaving before lunch. I was confused but went with it. Apparently, Granddad had insisted that Mom send my brother and I to boarding schools, saying that it was the only way we would become men. She had got upset and called Dad, who told her that if she was upset to just leave early and that he'd deal with Granddad. I was heartbroken. Granddad has apparently done this before, and only when Mom and without Dad. I was upset and have never really seen Granddad in the same light ever again. We have never spoken about it and just avoided the subject. Now for his redemption. A long time after that, my aunt and uncle met with my family at my grandparents' house and chose to go into London for the day. Granddad saw how I behaved and looked after my cousin. Mom later told me that he apologized for his previous actions and seen that I was becoming a man in my own way. Different from what he was used to, but something that he was proud of. And that's it. A bit long, but I know I just felt I needed to tell this. He tends to ignore us a bit when Dad is away, and he currently is, so I have no idea how he's coping in isolation with the virus. Edit. So I don't know if anyone else is gonna read this, but there's an event I heard of involving my granddad and his parents that I completely forgot and involves another character, his sister, my great aunt. As far as I can remember, I've never met her. She lives in the USA with my grandparents, would meet her every year when they went on holiday to America. My granddad's close with his sister despite me never having properly met her. So as I said, I don't know what kind of relationship my granddad has with his parents, but I do know when they died, they left everything they had to my great aunt. Not a penny or an item would go to Granddad. I heard this by accident when my parents thought I wasn't listening. Granddad lived only 10 minutes away from his parents before they died and could see him often, but they left him with nothing. However, my great aunt didn't stand for this. She told Granddad that she was going to have half of it to do as he pleased. What he did or what he got, I don't know, but he's lucky to have a good older sister. That's all for now. And that does it for today's r/entitled parents. If you liked it, make sure to check out some of our other stuff and even subscribe. As always, my name's Ryan from Askreddit Tells, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.